Okay, let me just quickly cover these four dimensions. So after introvert and extrovert, we have intuition and sensing. Our minds have to first take in the information and then evaluate the information. Evaluate information is feeling and thinking, which I will cover later. But intuition and sensing is about how you take in information. What is your camera lens? What is your lens that you see? Intuition and sensing is basically big picture thinking versus detail, small detail, attention to details. It's about like camera lenses, what you see first. It's about abstract versus concrete, big picture versus details. So let's say an intuitive person who prefer intuition tend to see less detail, like see the picture of the dog here, they see less details. A sensing person, which is the majority of the population, about 75% of the population, they prefer the details. When they talk about a dog, they want to know the detail of the dog. How old is the dog? What is the color of the dog? What is the breed of the dog? An intuitive person, they care more not so much about the details of the dog, but what is the meaning of the dog? What is the connection? What is the meaning behind? What is the possibility? What can I do with the dog? What is the meaning? Abstract idea. Yeah. So sensing people or concrete thinking are more towards, okay, I want to know the details. Some people are way more detail oriented than other people. So we use both, but in different weight and complexity. I think this one is a bit slightly more difficult to understand. But I'm sure you have noticed in your life that a lot of people are way more detail oriented. Like they want to know the step by step, like Remy, I know he's very intuitive. I can tell. When he share about his the table, he's like very abstract. He never mentioned any details. I said, oh, what is the specific strength or weaknesses he has, or what specific pain he has. He never said that. He only have a very general statement. And it's quite clear that Remy, for example, is intuitive. He care more about the ideas. So after you taking in the information that big intuition or sensing, then you decide with thinking and feeling. Okay, a quick jump back here. How to quickly identify. This one is for for your reference. They might not be true all the time. They are just surface behaviors, but good to know. Intuitive people, and they are the minority of the population. They tend to speak in metaphor and parables. They tend to generalize. They don't speak in details. Sensors, they more about the when, what, how, the specific. They are more detail oriented. Time orientation, intuitive, tend to be more future oriented. They have an easier time think about the end goal, the long term goals. They think far ahead about the implication, the consequences of the actions. Sensors, they just the here and now. What can do now? They might be less inclined to think about the long term implications. Practicality. Intuitive tend to be more because they are so abstract. Um, they tend to be less practical because they care too much about ideas. Sensor, they care more about what is the practical needs, their family, their friend, their work, money, things. They care more about things. So does that make sense? So introvert, extrovert is about half and half, but in this case, intuitive is a minority. Then we judge information with thinking and feeling. Even the name suggests some differences that you can tell from here. How do you prioritize and how do you evaluate something is right or wrong? If you have the information, is it right or wrong? Is it good or bad? Thinking or feeling. But it's not just about emotion or lack of emotions. That is not the case. Both thinker and feeler, or people who prefer thinking or people who prefer feeling, all have emotions. It's just that they have different approach. It's about impersonal versus relational. Thinking is about impersonal decision making. They put feeling aside. They can measure the feeling. Feeling, on the other hand, feeling people they you put yourself into the shoes of another person. You can feel it's unquantifiable. Thinking you can measure, you can quantify. Okay, this is good or bad. If you love someone, you love someone. You don't need to quantify it. But let's say from a very thinking point of view, love is measurable. Okay, you have to give me how much money a month as a wife, for example. You have to take me out for dinner four times, four times a month, for example. You have to give me flower every special day. It's measurable from a thinking point of view. But for a feeling point of view, I just feel it. I feel good, I feel bad. It's about relational. Feeling is the ability to be in a person's shoes and feel their subjective needs and their values. It's about personal value, principle, harmony, attraction, and repulsion towards someone or something. I would say thinking is more or less about problem solving. They approach everything as a problem to solve. And what are the resources, what are the formula, what are the data you need. Feeling is very much more people to people relationship. I mean, we everyone use both, but especially when you are younger or deep down, you know that you are more natural. Especially if you are a life coach. I'm 90% sure you are more toward feeling and you are more toward intuitive because you care very deeply about people. You care very deeply about people's transformation and growth. So feeling is definitely, if you are a life coach, it's very likely have feeling more. And behavioral wise, thinker communication, they tend to be more direct. They're more thick skinned, more assertive. Usually, feeler, they are more sensitive and empathetic. Of course, you can learn to be more direct, but usually they are more diplomatic. Career and hobbies wise, thinker tend to lean towards system and strategy, and chess engineering, technical stuff. Feeler more towards helping, teaching, influencing, coaching, art and literature. Thinker value problem solving, competency, result. Feeler value connection, being moral, and harmony and charity. That makes sense? Okay, stay with me. Last one. Judging versus perceiving is the last one. J versus P is the last letter in your four-letter MBTI types code. INFP, INFJ, J, and P. This is about how you approach external structure. Judging is not about being judgmental. Judging is you prefer to have the external environment more organized. You prefer to organize the external world according to structure and standards. You finish one step by step. You know, you do. If you're a judger person, you like to do things one step at a time. You want to finish one project and you go to the next project. You want things organized. Perceiving people, they are a bit more free flow. They are a bit more, I would say, a bit more creative and artistic. They are maybe they rely on internal structure, but externally they are more free flow. Maybe they study last minute for the exam. They have many things going on. They multitask a lot more. They do many things at the same time, and they tend to they go with when they come to project management and planning, they are more free flow, and they might work very hard near the deadline. Kind of thing. For example, so judging versus perceiving into behaviors at work. Judger, they are more comfortable when schedules are set and fixed. They like to stick to milestone and deadlines. Perceiver, they prefer loose deadlines and plenty of opportunity for improvisation. And judging, they are less multitasking. Perceiving, they tend to juggling and multitask. Judger, they like to start one first and go to the next. Perceiving, they are best with starting a new project, and but they are not good with closing project. So that's why if we'll do a reflection exercise here on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate yourself in terms of preferences? now and before when you're younger? Okay, so just put, so let's say introvert and extrovert. One is very introverted, 10 is very extroverted. Sensing and intuition. One very detail oriented, very sensing, and is very abstract. 10 is very intuitive. How are you now? Versus how were you when you are younger? When you when you were young and you were unburdened by social and work pressure. Thinking and feeling, same thing. One very thinking, very strong thinker. Feeling, F10, very strong with feeling. Judging and perceiving, same thing. If you are not sure, just put 5 is fine. 5 means you are in the middle. A lot of people, especially when they start working or they have worked for many years, they tend to have a lot of things balanced out. The more interesting thing here is, how were you before and why did you change? Yeah, if you go back to the slide, if there's a link, you look at the behavior table. It can help you as well. You have hard time deciding. You can look at the how behavior table and see. But after all, we always look at the cognitive functions, the cognitive preference. Sensing is about the details. Intuition is about big picture, about ideas. Thinking is about problem solving, about measurable data and structure and frameworks. Feeling is about harmony and authenticity and values. Things that are unquantifiable. Relational. J is about structure. P is about perceiving, is about free flow, creativity, spontaneous burst. Anyway, I think by the way, I won't have time to, in the interest of time, I won't have time to go to the 4 temperaments. We have to defer this to next session together with the Enneagram. Hopefully, we have time to cover that. Finish in the next one. Otherwise, I'm okay to do another one if you're okay. Then we will have 3 webinars. Everyone done? Is Udin done?
Yeah, more or less.
So, anyone would like to share? Especially any interesting shift in your preference, or you feel like you can't decide, or any interesting, but like, why did you change? How do you feel about the change? Are you very proud of the change, or you feel like you're too stressed out with the change? And what is your home? What is your psychological home? So the idea here is to find your cognitive story. Are you in the process of improving yourself and stretching yourself to meet social demand? Are you forgetting about your identity? Or are you forming a new identity? There's no right or wrong. It's just about your cognitive story. What is your home? What is your story? What is your journey? For example, for me, I definitely used to be way more feeling. I used to be way more sensitive and more relationship driven. But because I study business, I want to run my own business. I do marketing, so logically, I have to learn to be very thinking driven. And a lot of people who meet me think that I'm a thinker, but deep down, I know that's why it's important to know deep down. I'm more of a feeler, and I care about people. And I'm quite good at I'm quite intuitive and good at reading people's emotions and how they can be better, how they can reach their full potential. And because that's why I never forget my identity. I never forget about my mission and my end goal in life, which is to be a life coach. But a lot of people, I think, they forget their identity, and they may make some money, but they forget that they don't know what to decide with the next step. They just have a midlife crisis. So there are four temperaments, because if you have done the MBTI test before, are familiar with MBTI types, there are actually 16 MBTI types, because you have four letters. Each type have four letters, like for you are likely INFP, for example. So each letter have two choices: introvert, extrovert, thinking and feeling. So two to the four to the power of two is 16. So there are 16 types. So, but I will introduce a quick framework from a psychologist that study MBTI and simplify the system. It's David Kiersey who give a more scientific way to categorize people. So mankind, since the Greek time, they have categorized temperaments. And usually they come in a group of four, but we also use a lot of stereotyping and generalization, race, nationality, horoscope, social status to categorize people. But so we are trying to use the latest and the more scientific temperaments to quickly read people and understand themselves. So he says, Please Understand Me 2, 1 and 2. I think Please Understand Me 2 is quite a popular book that you can still find in the bookstore. So 16 possible MBTI types are categorized into four big groups based on their core drives. You have so you have two groups that are intuitive and two groups that are sensing. So if you remember, intuitive are more of bigger picture thinking, more abstract thinking. Sensing S is more concrete, more detail oriented. Then you further divide intuitive into feeling type and thinking type. So you have idealists and rationals. And the sensing type, you are divided into two types: the perceiving type and judging type. So perceiving means more free flow, more creative, more open-ended. Judging is more structured, more step by step. So, and the interesting thing to note here is, overall, the intuitive group are the minority. You have about 15% idealists in the population, 50% in the rational. Then the majority, the most popular are guardians, SJ. And the second most popular is artisans, SP. So let's go to each of them. Idealist. So if you remember, if you belong to any of these MBTI types, INFP, INFJ, ENFP, ENFJ, then you belong to this idealist temperament. Hey, hello, Izudin. Welcome. So we have just started. So we are the first group here, the temperaments. So if you remember, intuitive and combined with feeling, the potential of thing, combined with the concern, the preference to care about more about feeling, about morality and human values and human corporations. It gives result to a type that have a focus on a big picture, focus on how to inspire and empower people to achieve their full potential, usually at a very large scale. So they value harmony, collaboration, sensitivity, ideas, vision, humanities, and they are often excel as teacher, preacher, psychologist, counselor, social workers. You get the idea of, if they are more creative, they are like movie producer, writers, poets. You get the ideas. Some famous people that have a big impact, like Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, a lot of those freedom fighter, because they fight for something that is not about business or money, but more about getting a lot of people to get a higher potential. You get the idea. So they can be very popular, or they can go one-on-one as a psychologist, but it's about human potential. They are very intuitive about that. Strengths, if you are part of this group, you excel in abstract and motivational communication. You know what to communicate to uplift the spirit of other people. They are good parable, metaphor, big picture thinking, collaborative, creative, sensitive, empathetic. But their weaknesses, an objective understanding of weaknesses is that you can be too empathetic, overly sensitive at times. And because you are intuitive, you can be quite dreamy and idealistic and not as practical as those who are sensing type. Does that make sense? Let's do a quick contrast of this. Still intuitive, still abstract and big picture thinking, but they are thinking type. People like Albert Einstein and a lot of business and CEO people are rational. So whether they are introvert or extroverts, it doesn't matter. But they share a common characteristic that they care about abstraction and potential. And they combine that with a very strong preference for logics. Logics or thinking is about believe more into quantifiable data, structure, results. Even feeling can be categorized, can be measured. They don't trust feeling for the sake of feeling. It's need to solve a problem. So their core drive, when you combine intuition and thinking, it is about technical mastery, to make things to the next level. Whether it's an introvert like Einstein, who want to produce something that is more accurate, that is better than the previous physics scientist, or some extrovert like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. They want to produce something better. They want to go to Mars instead of just go to the moon. So the idea is that focus is on something more technical, but big picture vision, by technical problem solving. Unlike idealist NF, who is more about human potential and human value, this one is a lot more technical. They value professional growth, competency, self-sufficiency, fun and mental stimulation. They often work as scientists, lecturer, business manager, consultant, strategist. The strengths: deep thinking, innovative, the ability to solve and think about very complex problems. They excel in strategic thinking. They can be very detached from their emotions, so that they can quantify and solve everything and not affected by their subjective emotions. But their weaknesses, when there's strength, there is weaknesses. Thinking, they can be quite argumentative and blunt if they're not careful. They can be workaholic and very detached and avoid discussing feeling, and it can be quite a big problem for their personal close relationship. They might be very brilliant strategists or business or CEO, but they might not be emotionally available or be workaholic. So that makes a lot of sense when I read memoir and books about Elon Musk. I mean, there are a lot of things that doesn't surprise me when he got divorced a few times and he has the same pattern of problem with their wife or their kids. But yeah, intuition. So similarly, they can not be too practical sometimes. They can be very obsessed with big vision, big ideas. They can get bored easily. Unlike NF, NT are a bit more mental people. They need mental challenges, and they don't like to take care of small details, logistic, practicality. They don't care about that. They care more about the big strategy. Does that make sense? Okay, let me quickly do the other two. If I hope it's not too overwhelming. So we have covered the two intuitive types. So now we talk about the most popular two other types, artisan and guardian. They are both the sensing detail-oriented types. So when you combine sensing with perceiving, you have someone who is detail-oriented but very impromptu, very creative. I like to think of them as the James Bond type. Very charismatic, very action-oriented. This is a bit more advanced, but they are more driven by sensing but extroverted. They pay attention a lot to the outside world and how to respond fast. They want quick action, live in the moment, big win and big results. So they gravitate towards career that require aesthetic or motor sensory finesses like being a chef, being a performer, being a sportsman, you know. The strength is adaptable, quick in the moment response. They're good at aesthetic appeal, fashion, cooking. They are fun people, fun partner, lively, realistic. But their weaknesses, because they are detail oriented, they can sometimes miss the big picture. Unlike idealists or um, rationals, artisans are very live in the moment people. They like gambling. They can be addicted to gambling or fine dining or this expensive stuff without thinking about long-term consequences or long-term big picture results. Yeah, they and perceiving as well. That means they like to be creative and live in the moment. They don't like to plan the details too much. They take too much risk. As contrast to artisan, guardian is a lot more structured. Whether extrovert or introvert doesn't matter, but they are a combination of details and realistic thinking with structure. They like step by step. Think about like the typical accountant, the typical auditor. You have to do from A, B, C, D, Z, you know. You do one thing and go to the next. You need to follow a system. You need to follow established standard and rules. Can be nitpicking. So they are more driven by an internal sense of details. The details are more less in the moment and more predetermined, established. So they have very strong memory for details. If you meet people like this, they are very good. They have very good memory. They care about past and tradition. They are good at listening to their body. And they like to take care of the logistic and stability duty. So their core drive is to be responsible and reliable. Unlike artisan, they want impressive result, quick impressive result. Guardian, 40% of the population, they are responsible people. They want stability. They want things to be the same as it is, usually established and slow and meticulous. They values clear-cut rules, hierarchy, authority, traditional success, properly, loyalty, and reliability. That makes sense? The strengths, memory, attention to details, best person to take care of the logistics. They are the pillars of community and tradition, uphold the past, make sure everything is well taken care of, reliable, loyal. Weaknesses, because they use judging, which means they are a bit more too structured. They don't like things that are too, they are not the most adaptable people. They are resistant to change. Because they are sensing of concrete, they can be too focused on the detail and miss out the big picture. They only focus on the trees, you know. Sometimes they're like, oh, you have to do A, B, C, D, Z. Sometimes there's a faster way, a more innovative way, but they like, we have always been doing this. So why are we, you know, I don't trust any fancy stuff. You need to follow the steps. I'm sure you have met some of these people at your workplace. They are quite very nitpicky people. They seem kind of slow sometimes, but they are very reliable people. So again, Izuddin, I'm not sure if you have the handout link in the chat with you. If not, I can share again. Do you have the link to the? Can you see a link in the chat about the handout? Okay. So the exercise here is look look at the core drive, especially the core drive and the strengths and weaknesses. What are the top 1 or 2 choices that resonate the most with you? Out of these 4 temperaments. Sometimes people can clearly see one type because you have done the exercise in the previous session about your cognitive preferences. But some people they hesitate between 2 choices. That is normal because typically we tend to have a more natural sense of self like when we are younger, and then because of social pressure or work, we develop another persona, and that is totally okay. And after you have identified this, think about your story, your identity. How have you changed? How because you have written previously about your strengths and weaknesses and your aspirations in the previous session. How does it make you feel? Personally, for me, for example, before knowing about this system, my identity is like fluctuating, and I have many dreams and many desires. I want to be perfect in many things. I want to be like Guardian as well. I want to be stable. I want stable. I want traditional success. I also want, sometimes I feel like I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to be a beautiful, powerful business. But after knowing about this, after focus my identity, I realized that you can't be perfect. And I'm a lot more determined that, okay, I have so many choices. Coaching and psychology for me is the best because I strongly believe that I am an idealist. It's, in the end, in the long term, it's not about traditional success or solving any technical problem. It's about helping people, inspire people. So yeah, I am determined to do something on my own in this. Even though actually my father, he's an guardian, ESTJ. He's a very successful church and businessman. He think that what I do is very too abstract, too dreamy. He said, okay, you just follow the path, the traditional path, get married, do a job that is like follow the family business and everything. But I am determined to do because I know that is my destiny and my type.